Hey there, Fernanda. So let's get started on your copyright essay. So in terms of task response, we have two questions here. Do copyright laws limit or reward creativity? Would society function better without such rules and regulations? So you've covered the first part of the question in your introduction. But I don't see a suggestion as to whether society would function better in the beginning of your essay. What I would recommend with these two-part questions is to cover both parts in the intro and the conclusion, discuss part 1 in body paragraph 1, and discuss part 2 in body paragraph 2. And we need to refer specifically to this question of what would happen in society if the rules were changed. So this is asking about the future. Would society function better? So the future conditional, and the condition being without such rules and regulations. Would society function better without such rules and regulations? It's important to precisely respond to the question in your intro and conclusion, so that the examiner can see that your understanding of the task is clear. But let's have a look through sentence by sentence. So the issue of copyright laws has grown in importance over the last decades. We don't need to capitalize internet. And this should be the development. And here, we could say the subsequent development of digital media. Subsequent means the next step. It's a good advanced word to use in these sorts of essays. And also, this is it's a bit unfocused on the question. The question asks, do copyright laws limit creativity? So right now, presently, currently, do the existing rules and regulations reward creativity or hinder it? So what you're talking about is a discussion of whether new laws should be implemented, which is not part of the question. So what we should say, whether such regulations, we don't need both of these because they are the same thing, and personally, I believe that the protection of intellectual property is imperative for a well-functioning society, since it provides I was going to say incentive, but let's say impetus. It means the same thing. Incentive, the motivation, the reason to do. So it provides the impetus for creative people to produce new works. And protects them from theft. Cool. So now we've discussed both parts of the question in our intro. So firstly, I completely agree that copyright laws reward. We should say here, reward rather than limit the development of new works. To illustrate this, when someone applies, a person applies, people apply for a new patent, we already have this statement here, so we don't need to repeat it. For a new patent, to protect, we could actually just say for a patent to protect a new work, or anything else that involves such regulation, the owner has the right assured by the government for, let's say, a number of decades the right to what, though? Has the right assured by the government to earn royalties for a number of decades. Think. We should then use additionally legislation such as this. I wouldn't say the current generation, I would say future generations. And we protect the rights of the content producer, not the content itself. So the rights of the content producer are protected which means that it's the proprietor. The proprietor, proprietor, my spelling. I would just say the proprietor will benefit. Let's be specific. A long time or the life of the patent. Furthermore, when society has rules and regulations, I think we need to get rid of that and just say an infringement of law can give rise to a successful claim. This isn't necessary here. Furthermore, when society has rules and regulations, an infringement of law can give rise to a successful claim. Because of this, I believe that copyright has a valuable role nowadays. Thanks to it, people can trust that when they have a great idea, or develop a new machine or engine, their rights will be, it would be ensured, but I would say assured would be better. I'm not quite sure what the sentence refers to. It seems a little bit generic. But what I would suggest in this second paragraph is a discussion on how it strengthens society. You believe that copyright law strengthens society, so I think what we should do is talk about how it protects people from theft. Theft being almost universally agreed a destructive act in society, a morally reprehensible act. And so really, any regulation that protects society from theft is good and strengthens such a society. The thing about intellectual property, about non-tangible assets, is that they require non-tangible protection. You cannot, if somebody steals some of your property, you can catch them with it, and you can have them arrested under the standard laws of thievery. But if somebody steals your creative work, there is a whole different process involved, and that's where copyright rules come into play. We must make sure that just because something is not physical, that it's of the brain instead of the real world, that some protections are still afforded to those types of people. So I would maybe weave something about theft into this paragraph and finish up with an explanation on how protection from theft strengthens society. In conclusion, copyright should be recognised further and never forgotten by society. When it was first implemented, I'm not quite sure, I can't quite extract the meaning from this. But a couple of points. Don't use like in place of such as, it's very informal. But we have a coherence and cohesion problem here. This is really where we should be referring to, just re-summarizing everything. So to conclude, I firmly believe that copyright law rewards creativity by providing creators with the ability to earn financial rewards from their work. And furthermore, this protection from theft strengthens society by providing support from the court system to prosecute offenders. We can talk about the economic damages that result from theft. So if we wanted to make it financial, we could talk about the financial gains that a person can receive under the law and the protection from financial damage that a thief could do under the law. And this way we would be talking about how it rewards creativity and how it strengthens society, and we could easily introduce and conclude that as a result. But let's have a look at your task. So let's have a go. My first point is that when we do a task 1, what we're trying to do is build up a picture of the graph over time. So we need the first bit here should be a definition of the graph. What is it? What's in it? When was this taken? So there's no date on this. So we could say the graph shows 4 types of food from which UK males source calories for their daily diets in 3 life periods. Be specific. Overall, 3 commodities represent the highest, I would say, proportion of calorie intake in UK males. It's not such as dairy, meat and pulses, because you're referring specifically to the 3 commodities that you're talking about. Such as gives a limited number of examples. If you're referring to all of the things, then you can use namely dairy, meat and pulses, like this. Vegetables did not increase. The consumption of vegetables decreases with age. So we could say the consumption of vegetables decreases with age at a rate of roughly 5% every 25 years. There we go. And we should use although in academic writing, not even though. Although there is a pattern in the first age group. See, my issue here is that we're already down to the detail and we have not yet defined the age groups. So we should do this here. There we go. And now the definition is complete. We know exactly what the graph is describing. I also, this sentence is far too confused. So let me show you one sec. So that's how we could describe the first group. For 25 to 49-year-olds, meat consumption surges to 50% of intake and all other groups, actually, dairy, pulses and vegetables, actually, let's talk about each decrease. %, 10%, and 15%, respectively. Respectively means in the same order as it was previously stated. So dairy, pulses, and vegetables, 25, 10, and 15% respectively. Then obviously in the last one we can talk about how the consumption of pulses is the highest share of calorie intake of any age group, as in the over 50s, intake surges once again to 65%. So these are the different ways in which we could describe the detail. I'm struggling to get the meaning out of some of these sentences, so we need to make sure that your descriptions of the data are much clearer. You're not far away. You are very close to being crystal clear, but there is some work to do yet. We need to be a couple of pointers. We need to be quite specific when we're talking about age groups. Make sure that we, in a sentence, that the reader can tell which age group you're referring to, that you refer to the data accurately. So this food group occupies this level of intake. This food group comprises this proportion of intake. We must be very clear. Scientific, almost. What I'll do, if you go on these websites, read one article on each of those sites every day. They report on academic literature, so it's quite a scientific method of writing that they employ. And reading these every day not only introduces your brain to the grammar patterns necessary, but also things like descriptions of data, scientific language used, just a more academic style, really. I think this could help you quite a lot. These are two of my favourite news sources as well. But I'll send this over to you now, Fernanda. Have a great day, and I will look forward to your next pieces.